Hello, my name is Matt. This will be my foray into the world of unsolved mysteries here on YouTube. This will be my first video, which covers the missing case of Alfred Eder, who has been missing since 1974. In November of 1958, Thomas Pendergast was driving to El Cajon, California, when he picked up a 16-year-old hitchhiker named Alfred Eder. On December 12, 1958, Thomas left for work, and during the day, Carl murdered his entire family. He claimed it was because 4-year-old Diane Pendergast was annoying him, which enraged him and caused him to commit the murders. Thomas Pendergast's wife Lois, 4-year-old Diane, 2-year-old Alan, 6-year-old Thomas Jr., and 9-year-old David were all stabbed and slashed to death by Carl. This is some information from the El Cajon Police Department on Alfred Eder. Carl was born on June 30th, 1942. That would make him 73 years old as of June 30th, 2015. Synopsis. At approximately 6:30 p.m. on December 12, 1958, the El Cajon Police Department received information of a homicide involving five victims at 1286 North 2nd Street. The police were called by Mr. Thomas Pendergast after he discovered his wife and 4 children deceased in their residence. Officers of the El Cajon Police Department responded to the residence, found the deceased, and discovered during their investigation that Mr. Pendergast had befriended a subject by the name of Alfred Eder, date of birth, as mentioned, June 30th, 1942. Mr. Pendergast knew this subject as Charles Harrison and had brought the 16-year-old into the residence sometime before the homicide. Officers completed their investigation, documenting the deaths of the 5 subjects inside their residence. The victims were shot and stabbed. The children were eviscerated, so basically disemboweled. The information in regards to the identification of the suspect and the crime was then broadcast throughout the news and given to other police agencies in San Diego County. Eder was located, arrested, and prosecuted. He was sent to Tehachapi State Prison and subsequently escaped in 1974. And you can contact the El Cajon Police Department if you have information. This information is from the St. Helena, California Star. Authorities renew search for 1974 prison escapee. So it states that the California Department of Corrections is offering a $20,000 reward in this case. He had escaped from prison in 1974 and had been last seen 2 years later in 1976 in the Up Valley area. The details of the case are described again here. Eder had ties to motorcycle gangs and radical left-wing groups. It's possible that he was murdered by members of one of those groups who were nervous about his violent rhetoric, said Agent Scott Webb of the California Department of Corrections Special Service Unit. It would be a long time to be on the lam, 40 years. It's pretty crazy, so it is possible that he's deceased. Eder would be 70 years old today. He's described as 6 foot 2 inches tall, 175 pounds, with blonde or gray hair, blue eyes, scars on his left hand and abdomen, and a mole under his left eye. He had been featured on America's Most Wanted. So that is the information about Alfred Eder. This is a photo of him, actually from the time of his arrest and after the murders. Another actual photo of Carl himself in real life, not a computer-enhanced version. This would be what he looks like potentially today. And that would be also today. This reminds me of a cartoon from the old EC comics, like The Vault of Horror by Ghastly Graham Ingalls. It's just a kind of a creepy cartoonish shot, but allegedly what he would look like today. So I'll leave that one up on the screen. My opinion on this case is that it's the type of case that makes people afraid to be involved with hitchhikers in any capacity at all. And a lot of people who need rides or who are stranded in some way are honest people. They need help, but people are hesitant to pull them over, I would say, rather pull over and help them because they fear that hitchhikers could do something bad. In this case, Mr. Pendergast was kind enough to let Alfred Eder into his house under an assumed name, so he was lying from the beginning. Not that Mr. Pendergast knew that, but he was willing to let him into his house from the beginning, and lo and behold, just within 6 weeks of that, his 4 children, small children, all under the age of 10, 3 sons and a daughter, and his wife murdered viciously. Like, I can't imagine. Apparently what had happened is he came home, Alfred Eder asked Thomas Pendergast to drive him around for a bit. He let him off. Then he essentially fled, although Mr. Pendergast wouldn't have known that. He got back home to discover that scene. There's no way that I can, in my mind, look at this as something that can be downplayed in any way, or I can't imagine. So it's a pretty perverse case. I thought that it would be one that I could start this page off with. So, any thoughts on this? It's in my opinion too cold to be resolved. Anybody who has been on the run for this many decades, who would have changed substantially in physical appearance, possibly lost some height with age a little bit, potentially lost all of his hair, it just makes this case very, very hard to resolve. As a result, I don't see this case being closed, but who knows? I do get surprised, and that could happen here. So anyway, any thoughts on this case, please share them below. Any information or advice or tips on how I can go about making these videos more informative, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you. I hope that I can refine my technique, my style, as time goes on. Thank you for watching.